Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. I hope you are doing well. I enjoyed getting to know you through your discussion board posts. Lots of animal lovers in this group, lots of gardeners and crafters in this group, and a lot of new teachers in this group. So, welcome to our profession. Um, it's definitely a great one. So I look forward to hearing more about your experiences in the classroom. And remember that I'm here for you if you need me as you move forward in your first and second and third years in teaching. And also for my mid years and my experienced teachers, welcome. It's nice to have you with us as well. Um, so you already know a little bit about me from my bio, but I will tell you a little bit more. So this is my 29th year of teaching in education. Unbelievable. And I have taught middle school all over our district. I've taught high school for many years. I'm in the Compass program in Long Beach, which we teach through the lens of the arts. So, all of the main curriculum through the lens of the arts, which is always wonderful. I just wrote a new course for the district called Diverse Voices Media Literacy, which is a new English class that not only looks at literature, but looks at film, looks at media, looks at the influence of film and media, looks at representation in film and media, and representation in literature. And the students really seem to be enjoying it at this point in time. I am married. I'm actually watching my husband clean the pool as I'm recording for you. He was fussing about it, and he loves when I make homemade crepes. And I said, "No crepes for you." So he's furiously cleaning the pool right now. We have wild ducks in the pool. We have wild ducks that come back every year to our backyard and nest and have for many years. And so we give over the pool to the ducks and the babies for a couple months. And they are just a joy to watch, just a joy. And so we have about three ducks left that are just getting ready to fledge. I'm hoping that they don't fly out tonight with all of the 4th of July fireworks, but we will see. You have to let wild things be wild. I do squirrel rescue. I have one squirrel right now, Ruffy Tuffy, that has not been willing to go yet, so we'll see what happens. We have a 250-pound pet pig, Rupert, who's always a fan favorite. And we have cats and dogs and an African gray parrot. All of our animals are rescues. I never thought that I would want a parrot, but Lucky is a kick. Very, very smart. Talk about interesting research into brains. Uh, One of the smartest of the talking birds. So uh, we have quite the menagerie here and a lot of joy. A lot of joy. So you'll notice that I put comments in responses to your introductions, but I did not put comments in responses to your comments on your brain based reading because I wanted to talk to you about it. Most of you brought up the reward system with teenagers, with reward system. And, we all need reward. Our brains are wired that way. We all need reward. That's why the research is so interesting right now about social media, because it's such a double-edged sword with, several of you were mentioning, looking at TikTok for crafting or TikTok for gardening or, TikTok for bulletin board displays, and that's all wonderful. But there is that, addictive quality of social media that we see with our students, where it's very, very difficult for them to put phones down or stay off social media and those likes. That's no different than the receptors that are triggered for drug addiction, sugar addiction, fat addiction, all of those types of things. They give you that high. And so we're looking at digital addiction, phone addiction, social media addiction, and we're also looking at digital dementia and how phones can cause issues with the brain and how the brain processes. And you might notice that, and I speak to the students about this quite a bit. I love my phone. because your brain wants to suck down as much information as it can as quickly as it can. So, having my phone and being able to look up something at a moment's notice, a bird, a word, read, and scanning, very quickly. But what I have noted and what is scientifically researched is that all of this scanning is making it more difficult for me to sit down and read, you know, Anne Lamott's entire book in one sitting. Whereas before, a magazine or a book came into the house and my brain was so voracious to get to it that I would finish it in one sitting. And so I have to really work. It's like practicing anything, practicing music, practicing cooking, practicing gardening. I have to really work to get my brain back into that place, to read, to focus, to calm it down, and let go of that addiction to want to very fast to go through things. Um, you know, it's even hard for me to watch TV show these days without like looking up things as I go. Where do I know this actor from, or Shazamming the music, those types of things, because your brain wants more and more and more. So those are things that we need to consider as teachers, and how can we find a happy medium with our students? How can we help them navigate this need for reward, this instant reward that they're getting from their phones, and without alienating them, we want to be able to pull them in. And then as far as reward systems in the classroom, it's learning your students, it's knowing your students and finding out what rewards work for them, what rewards work for them. One of my favorite rewards is, um, especially in high school, is that a lot of times my students that are really vocal or moving around the room and can be a handful at times, they've never had the opportunity to be a teacher's aide because they're always getting called out for moving around the room or talking to everybody. But this is the perfect person to be a teacher's aide, and to go on errands for you, and to act as your go-to to the other adults on campus, and they feel so highly rewarded and trusted by it that they're willing to follow you, other places. um, Sometimes, and you had mentioned this in the discussion board, clapping or cheering a student on. Depends on the student, though. Once again, you have to know your students. So if you're clapping or cheering on a student, you have to make sure that they're a person that's comfortable with that type of attention. So I had a student one time, and this was fun. And Becky, you will appreciate this as a vocal director, because if you read my bio, you know that I was signed to Hollywood Records and sang prior to being a teacher. Um, but I had a student who was an amazing guitar player, and he had come into class late, after a concert, a school concert, and he had his electric guitar with him. He was just holding it, by the neck, and had the case, and walked in and sat down. I have a couch in my room, and it wasn't plugged in, and he was trying to wind down a little bit from his performance, and the kids were just kind of working on independent things and talking quietly. And all of a sudden I heard him playing, a riff from Zeppelin's, Whole Lot of Love. And and then you could see the class, like people started hearing it a little bit, and then the class kind of stopped, or kind of listening to it. And it was one of those moments where it was okay to transition into this type of activity. And so I was just sitting at my desk working on something, and then I just stood up and just started belting Whole Lot of Love, and then the whole class was clapping, and then he was playing, and then everybody clapped and applauded, and he was so happy just to be seen and just to be connected. And the community you create in moments like that, and of course it doesn't have to be that type of moment, but that's comfortable for my room and for me. But the community you create in that is such a reward. And students start to feel safe. And then when you do have to discipline, or bring somebody down, or that they're more willing to trust you once again, and it causes you less classroom management issues. And this goes for littles too, for all my people in there that have littles, that are working with littles. It's about knowing your students and creating that environment and that trust to offer these rewards, and the rewards that they're looking for, So sometimes students that have high anxiety, they prefer to have a more, intimate one-on-one connection with you. Or like with the high school students, then that's where I take an opportunity to write them an email, or a private comments, in their paper on Google, or when they submit it, like to Blackboard, that type of thing. We use Canvas. Um, and you can even record vocal messages for them, or messages like this, that they can look back on as they go through their school years, and give them hope when they're struggling. It's a reward. So I love that you all brought that up, that you were noticing that, and that those of you that have teenagers at home, you're studying, the brain based work that you're studying from week one, you're seeing in real time. You're seeing in real time. And so, moving on to this week's work, week two's work, of course, I want you to focus on everything, but when you get to the learning brain, I love the accent of the woman that does the learning brain, and that also makes learning enjoyable. Um, we've all experienced that, where somebody's voice puts us to sleep, or somebody's voice is just grating, and you can't learn. Okay, and it's not you being dramatic, it's your brain saying, I don't like this, so I'm not going to learn. And I really want you to focus on the learning brain, especially when you get to, I think it's about the 4 minute mark. 327 is where it's all interesting, but this is where it talks about stress and anxiety and those types of things. And remember that there's so many things going on with children, uh, all ages of children. Okay, and when they come into your classroom, the first thing that we need to do is we need to set the mood. We need to set the mood of the day. And we're not perfect. We're profoundly flawed, just like anyone else. We have good days or bad days. But you've probably already noted that when you're having a bad day, your tone sets the tone of the room. If you don't take that moment to recover before you start class. And, for some students really love to come to school, and some students don't. And some students feel very anxious when they're at school, and some students are dealing with really heavy things at home. We saw that prior to the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I had students that were losing parents, due to COVID, before the vaccination. So you have to remember that students have a lot of things on their mind, and if somebody comes in acting saucy or fussy or seems out of focus, there's probably something going on. And once again, you have to pick the time when to address that, because that can also affect their brain and how they handle it, and how they may be acting differently. Did they have breakfast? Um, did they have to get up super early to help with elders or small children? Did they get enough sleep? Are they stressed about a test in another classroom? Did something happen? An incident? Um, are they fretting over something? Are they worried about something? And that's another, especially in high school, where I really have to watch. I let students listen to music when they're doing quiet work, which is all very important in brain based research. Or they can listen to sounds of the wind or the rain or those types of things when they're doing their quiet work. But you have to watch phones in classroom, because students can also, phones make people accessible at all times now, us as well. And if you don't have good boundaries with it, it's going to be hard for you to have time to settle down and think and reflect. Especially, say you're in a fight with a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you're 14 or 15 years old and your phone keeps going off with this argument, and you keep sneaking it out when Miss Wood's teaching, and then you can't remember anything. So there's all these things, you have to sleuth. You have to constantly be watching, what's going on, with your students and colleagues and yourself. And I noted a lot of you in the discussion board had talked about, exercising that you like to do, or nature, that you love to go and you need to be part of nature, hiking and camping and gardening and those types of things. And all those things will help you with your brain as well, because a stressed and an anxious brain does not learn. How many of you have at one time or another had your phone against your ear and talking to somebody and started going, "Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone?" That's the stressed, overstimulated brain for you right there. Um, so, these are things that we have to look at. And, I've had experiences with them, and I told you a little bit, I think, in my last video. Um, Although my brain escapes me right now. It might have been another class, but when I was highly stressed, highly anxious, when I was caregiving my mother and her death was imminent, I couldn't think. I couldn't think. I did not have words. I misplaced everything. And then, as I said, I think before, Alzheimer's runs in my family. So when I lost my mom, um, who I had taken care of since I was a teen. My father died when I was young, and I had taken care of my mother since a teen. So I had a relationship with her that was more like a mate. She was always with me, and always with my husband. In this home, this is the family home that I grew up in. I'm the child that took care of my mother. So, first I had the stress of caregiving and not sleeping, because I was always on high alert, high alert, high alert, making sure she was surviving. And then when it was, hospice and she was going, high alert, high alert, high alert, while still trying to teach. And then you go into grief after you lose someone. And, your brain, it's just everywhere. And it takes quite a while to recover from situations like that. And those of you that have experienced that, you know that. And then being in a field where we are academics, where we are known for how smart we are, how competent we are, when things start to go wrong, terribly wrong from stress or anxiety, then we fret about that and we ruminate on what's happening. Am I getting Alzheimer's? Is something going on? And that makes it worse. And I did have to get a brain scan at that time. That was really interesting too. It was very cool to see my brain, and my neurologist was like, "That is a big, beautiful brain." He's Indian and beautiful accent, and I loved the way he said it. Big, beautiful brain. Do not worry, Dr. Wood. And that calmed me down. That was a reward for me, that a neuro scientist was telling me that I had a big, beautiful, healthy brain. Ding, 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 ding. Reward triggered, because that's important to me. Okay. So these are all the things that we want to look at. And stress, anxiety, being dehydrated, if a student comes to you dehydrated, if you're dehydrated, if they're not eating a balanced diet, we all love our sugars. Well, most of us, I think, in here can agree we love our sugars. All of these things, caffeine, me having my morning coffee right now, okay? All of these things can affect us. And so you want to remember when a student comes in and they're behaving, in an odd way to you, or a student that you're learning, is sassy or off task. It's time to find out what's going on and see what's going on in the brain. And of course, look up any records possible to see if there's any processing or things like that going on. But make sure you look at that, social emotional piece of it and what's going on in their lives. Okay? All right. So I want you to have a good week in week 2. And remember that you're going to be looking at the effect of digitizing and gamifying quizzing in classrooms. You're going to look at how to integrate tech when it keeps changing. You'll notice the how to integrate tech when it keeps changing. I think the original article is from 2014, but if you scroll down in that, you're going to see more about it. And I will be posting, when you look at an article, in the Blackboard and it's like, 2014 or those types of things, I will be posting updates as well because brain based research is changing all of the time. And so you want to stay current and you want to stay internationally current as well. I had a course just a while back where, oh gosh, I'm at 20 minutes. I'm stopping there. I'll tell you more about it another time. So make sure you read The Effect of Digitizing and Gamifying Quizzing in Classrooms, How to Integrate Tech When It Keeps Changing, Brain-Based Learning Model Neuroplasticity by Dr. Don Elger, and The Learning Brain, my favorite. You have a discussion board for week 2, and remember that you are going to submit your assignment for your group integration paper. It's so make sure you follow the directions for that and the rubric as you work with your group member. And I wish you well, and contact me if you need me. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.